and they go, hey, my kid's 18. He wants to be a software engineer. What should he do? And I just tell them, please listen to me so deeply, clearly. Get into. What's up, man? How are
Hey,
you?
good, you?
Good. Hey, from a little bit of a different angle,
Yeah.
I've been deeply involved in software engineering, in particular staffing. Sold my last company and do that at a really high level right now
Okay.
for, in general, 300K plus, specifically mechatronics, robotics
Oh,
lately.
cool.
And I guess one thing I'd ask, just seeing what you've seen, my business partner and I, after thriving off the COVID market, dude, I mean, that was like, hey, do you have a pulse and a C minus knowledge of software engineering? Here's
Yeah.
180K. It was nuts. Like, it was nuts. And we were printing.
Yeah.
But dude, that side of the market seems to be dying quite brutally. I don't know if it's going to be an AI thing where companies are putting way too many eggs in that basket and this is going to pull back soon and they're going to say, wait, we need real engineers. But it seems like, and I'm just curious your take
Yeah.
on this, it seems like the place where, from my perspective of being on the kind of outside of tech and helping so many people and get these new jobs, it's like, okay, so what roles are not being AI'd right now? What roles still need staffing where they're going to spend $50,000 for a placement fee? And I realize it's systems engineers, it's all C++, it's robotics, it's embedded software engineers, it's of course a lot of data science, but like the good old, hey, I'm a JavaScript engineer and I do React and Node and I'm good with AWS, give me 250K. That seems like that's violently dying. So
Yeah.
that said, though, we go all the way down to entry level kind of C++ engineers all the way through. And I do just want to say, and everybody listening,
Today's video sponsor is me. I built this site called getcracked.io because I noticed that there was a massive skill gap between what candidates know and what they should know. This isn't only skill up and interview prep content focused on language knowledge. It also includes things like operating systems, concurrency, design patterns, computer architecture, with questions asked from top firms around the world. I also have a coding section here that teaches you real world concepts. These aren't toy puzzles, these aren't contrived problems with principles like dynamic programming, which you will rarely use ever in your career. These are real questions with real implementations and real explanations, many of them having appeared in interviews in the past. Make sure to check it out.
stick to that C++. I have 90 LinkedIn recommendations, all from architects and, principal engineers and directors of engineering. Like, I know recruiters, you can laugh at them. Most of them do suck. And, it is a bunch of trash people in that industry. But coming from, quote, authority in the job market, guys, if you're going to pick CS from someone who sees this all day in and out, stick to that C++ side of things. I have these, very successful PMP parents that I've placed and make money with, and they go, "Hey, my kid's 18. He wants to be a software engineer. What should he do?" And I just tell them, please listen to me so deeply, clearly. Get into the C++ side of things. When I tell you I've got these unbelievable companies that are like autonomous robotics at like the bleeding edge of tech, that the only people they can find for these C++ engineers are like 35-year-old dudes who are about to retire, and they're desperate to find, dude, send me a good 6-year person. I can't find, with the $30,000-$40,000 in software we spend as a company a year, I can't even find good 6-7 year C++ engineers. So I really appreciate you not being gimmicky, not just saying learn to code, bro, LOL, and like the meaningfulness of how you talk to people and the reality of interviews. And I'm not technical, but I know what the fucking array is because I've talked to these people and tech them out a bit. Listen to what Coding Jesus says. He will get you so much further than talking to AI or just grinding out leak codes. Because, guys, yes, you need to be a technical fit, but they are looking at personality too, and they will grill you down. And if you don't come across right, you're not getting that role. So I guess I'm a little flustered because I feel like I'm talking to a celeb, but dude, I really appreciate what you do for the platform and these younger devs trying to figure it out because it is a hard market right now.
Yeah, thanks for that. How is it even possible for technical recruiters to go through thousands upon thousands, hundreds upon thousands of
Yep.
resume submissions that they get like 2 hours after a job position's open? Like, there seems to be a massive gap in the market between candidates that are actually strong and then a recruiter's ability to properly screen a candidate and tell that
So,
they're actually good material.
so they can't. I make the joke that Susie Q in HR doesn't know what the hell she's looking at when she's
Right.
reviewing these Indeed profiles.
Right.
And this is ultimately why you have to end up paying me $50,000 because I'll just say in the 150 placements this year, none of them are applicants. I post all my jobs, none of them are applicants. LinkedIn, email, cold outreach, phone calls, a bit of my Discord server. I'm a headhunter, like through and through and through and through and through. You're getting a cold email with a good opportunity, and you're gonna and again, these are the good ones that figured out they're good at this and they're gonna go make their own money not working for a company. So the reality is, dude, is Susie Q in HR who's getting yelled at to go through the applicants. They're rejecting a bunch of good people by accident, and what's really going on, and this is a whole different level that no one knows about. A lot of H-1B candidates send these unbelievably, beautifully, phenomenally polished resumes, and when you call them, they just yes you to death that they have the experience, and Susie Q jams up the interview pipeline because she's actually not technical. So the real issue is there's either automation of people being lazy internally or somebody who's not even technical enough who's placing like office admins that's also on the ATS sending hiring managers. Do you know what I'm saying with this?
Yeah, yeah. She has
So it
no
like
means
gets
to
bogged
screen.
up or shitted up. Or there's just like, oh man, I don't want to look at this. They're being lazy and they go, yeah, I went through all the applicants and they reject 200 people. Like internal HR and recruiters, they don't get paid to make a placement. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they just stay busy and that's why people apply. Now, on the other hand, guys, if you see 300 applicants in the last day on LinkedIn, please click apply. So many shitty candidates, dude. I'll reject 99% of applicants and then the couple bangers get the job. So like don't ever be scared away by that, but dude, to your point, like they're not looking at it.
But how?
And they're not technical and they're not engineers. It's just like slop from the human side.
Yeah, I know. It's like that's what I called it. But I called it like slop or clog. It's like all this artificial clog of all these people saying they're AI machine learning engineers. They don't know how to define a
So
list or
bad,
what a
bro.
tuple is. Like, how is Susie from HR even possibly going to filter through that? And that also makes it harder for like legit candidates to break through because you have all these guys. You have all these guys artificially lying about what they do. And then, like, when you ask them in an actual interview, I can spend 15 minutes with them and I know that these people don't know jack.
Well, what's interesting is I don't only do headhunting for individual fees. I do RPOs, which is recruitment process outsourcing. So let's say a company, maybe a smaller company, just raised, let's say, as an example, in one of my clients, $30 million. And in that fundraising, they need to hire 15 engineers. Instead of getting rinsed and paying 30K placements each, we'll do something like, hey, give us all your jobs. You know, over 6 months, we'll fill these 15 roles and you pay us 20 grand a month. And they save a bunch of money. We get exclusivity. We're not fighting other staffing firms on the role and we're guaranteed money no matter what. So I'll go into their ATSs and actually have to handle it and look at all the applicants. And when I tell you, dude, we'll get 300 applicants and I'll just look at it over a week. And I know the telltale signs of a bullshit resume, but when I tell you that I'm rejecting because of it's primarily H-1B candidates and they say it because we ask. When I tell you on 300 applications, 290 of them are for a C++ embedded engineer. 290 of them are like JavaScript developers with 2 years experience that were in India 3 years ago. And there's nothing wrong with that. I place great H-1Bs, but when I say it gets so fucking clogged up that you might as well just click reject and throw the baby out with the bathwater, that's also what's going on. because you post a job remote or on site, and in 1.5 hours, you get 200 applicants from people who you literally need to pay $10,000 to hire because they are an H-1B and they need to get sponsored.
Yeah.
So that's a massive thing behind the scenes where you're just getting totally shitted up. And guys, I know this sounds crazy, but this is like, when you're applying to a job, dude, you're marketing yourself. It's all sales. Like, you see a good role that you're actually a fit for, take the time to make that resume shine for that role. You have to do that in this market. And I'm telling you, boys and girls, the best thing you can do if you really find a role that you go, I am a fit for this for sure, not just click an easy apply and spray and pray, but if you see a role that's banging, do your research. Go into the company LinkedIn, find an HR person, a director of engineering, send a nice message. Hey, my name is Michael. I recently applied. I think I have a really great background. I love your company and I would love to connect for this job opportunity. Now, when I tell you I'm internally with some banger companies, I'm not going to say their names, but like godsends of places to work. When I tell you, when I have these RPOs where I'm internal with these companies and managing their ATS, and I'm in their Slack and I talk to all their hiring managers, when I tell you the amount of HR directors who go, hey, Mike, this person hit me up on LinkedIn and sent me a message directly to the decision maker on a first call and interviews Slack, like me. The amount of times I've had them be like, hey, this person reached out on LinkedIn, take a look and set up a call. They sent me a nice message. You guys got to take the extra step, especially if you're younger. No one gives a shit about LinkedIn, dude. The whole thing's a slop fest anyways.
Yep.
Find the hiring manager, send a nice message, attach your resume, and then guess what, dude? Save them $35,000 from a staffing fee if you're a good fit. Like, this is the extra step, the extra polish. Guys, it is cutthroat, dude. The best devs I've ever worked with in my life are out of work right now. Not all of them, but a couple of them, and they're freaking the fuck out. You gotta be competitive. And again, if you're not a fit, you're never gonna bullshit a technical interview.
Yeah.
They sniff that shit out in 2 seconds. When Coding Jesus has a typical call where he asks 10 questions, he knows, and you can confirm this, brother.
Yeah.
You know the way they reply to the very first question, if they're legit or not. You know right away, true or false.
Yeah, that's true. And that's why I ask basic questions a lot of people say on TikTok, Instagram, why are you asking basic questions? I ask basic questions because if I can establish a baseline of like what you know, how can I build up on that and ask you harder questions? What version of C++ do you use?
Just like, what's the one they have like active on lead code most often? Or like, yeah, that's like, I've been just compiling like stuff with, I don't have like, I can't remember the exact like version number, but like I had it set up from like the latest one back in like November of last year.
What was that, the latest one?
17.12.
That's a compiler version which compiler goes up to 17.12? When I say C++ version, I'm talking about the standard, like C++ 17, C++ 20.
Dude, I wrote a hello world when I was 10. I asked on some of these JavaScript, kind of as a joke, but I'm like, hey, you go into this interview, you're gonna know what a for loop is, right? The right answer is for them to laugh at me and be like, yeah, recruiter buddy, I know what the fuck a for loop is, but sometimes I ask that, again, not a technical engineer, I ask that question and they'll like stutter and pause and I'll be like, I can't fucking send this dude to a client and say, hey, this guy's potentially worth $30,000. So like, you guys gotta brush up, get your chops up, listen to Coding Jesus, read, study. Like, dude, and back to your point, man, if you have a stacked GitHub and really good projects and you send the right message and you do all this extra stuff and you need to break into your first job, because it's brutal, dudes. It's brutal. And dude, you gotta have your LinkedIn open to work. You gotta have your LinkedIn pimped. You gotta be on dice.com and have your resume there, because any recruiter worth shit is paying 10 grand a year for a Dice job board to run a search for a resume. Like, there are ways to maximize this journey, but also like, you can't can't bullshit these guys. So if you weren't paying attention in school, you're not up to snuff, and you're getting fucking wrecked in interviews, you got some work to do. It doesn't mean give up, but like, I don't know. I just have a lot of hope for the younger generation, guys. You're not completely chopped, but just God helps those who help himself, and you got to put the work in and do all the extra steps and write that cover letter and do the shit you don't want to do. But I just figured I'd like to put a different perspective to obviously a bunch of people thinking about their careers watching this channel.
Yeah.
Hopefully this was valuable.
It is. Do you have 2 more minutes? I have a question for you.
Bro, I'm chilling, dude.
Okay.
I had a nice date and a couple beers. I'm just hanging out, man.
Okay. My question for you is, do you think there's a lack of talent in the U.S. market, or no? Like, I'm actually not sure. Like, I speak to a bunch of people. I see all these job postings, and I see all these people. And when I was actually interviewing, so I start another job October 20th, I believe. That's my start date.
Congrats. Nice.
Yeah, thanks. And I was able to secure 2 quant offers, 1 non-quant offer. My next job is actually non-quant, which I'll probably make a video about. I wanted to diversify my experience. I wanted something a little more chill so I can focus on Get Cracked. But
chill, right?
yeah. But what I was seeing during my interviews is, even when I was interviewing with these quant firms, they're like, "Damn, bro, you're a breath of fresh air." Because they're asking me to implement stuff that are basic, like implement a mutex, implement a reader-writer lock, maybe something a little more complex than that. And candidate after candidate's just like, I have no idea, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. It's like, is there a skill gap here? Are candidates, or is it something else?
I actually believe it's a lack of proper marketing and staffing efforts by the company. When they just post on Indeed and they don't want to do any additional outreach and they don't want to do any sourcing and they want to pay the bare minimum for exposure, like some awesome jobs we see, because we do like reverse engineer marketing, where we scrape jobs with low applicants. I go out and find some cool candidates, and then and this is all with automation with clay.com. We basically like pitch great candidates and say, hey, you have 30 applicants, role's been open for 3 weeks, here's a banger who's in the local market and available. Do you want to interview them? Let's have a call. Like, it's good marketing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is that, dude. I think a lot of it is they don't have the infrastructure to find the right people, because there isn't a lack of talent. But the other issue is, it's not that there's a lack of talent. I think there's a lack of availability, though. And I think there's a lack of meaningful salaries. And I think there's a lack of, enough interest because most engineers want to make, at a principal or staff level, they need to be making 30K to make a move. They're not going to make a move to make an extra 10, 15K.
Yeah.
So I also think it's, obviously quants, I've worked a quant before and it was a 400K base salary, and that's not including TC.
Yeah.
And that was in 2022. Dude, it was like goddamn impossible to get people to even reply to me. And if they did, they'd be like, bro, I'm at 6. So I think it's partly like a lack of staffing effort, where Susie Q is trying to find quants on Indeed.com, and they're sending these maybe decent looking H1B fake resumes, and they go and interview, and they're just like, fuck, dude, another bullshit interview.
Yeah.
And then a real engineer like you come on and they do say this is a breath of fresh air. It's their company's staffing and HR infrastructure's fault. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really not a lack of, and if there's this is what I say, if you guys can't fill a job, either you're being too picky, you're not paying enough money, or your company fucking sucks and they're looking at Glassdoor reviews and they don't want to come work for you.
Yeah.
That's it. You can fix any opening by paying more money for the most part.
I think
Depends.
I partially agree with that, partially disagree. Like I could have taken a quant offer that pays more than the place that I'm going to be working at, but
Quants are a different beast, though. Do you know what? In general, with software engineering as a whole, though, that's a whole different level of experience, in my opinion. Like, as a professional, a different kind of experience. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, the thing is, though, like, whether somebody was going to say 400 or 350 or even 300, like, my living standards are not going to change. What's more
there's
important,
no difference at that level.
What's more important for me is I'm working on an impactful project with interesting people. I'm learning new tech, and I'm growing professionally. Like, at least that's what drives me.
And that goes back to my last point of, if your company sucks, aka you can't offer meaningful work, like, it's one of those 3 things, right? Or a combination of all of them. Dude, once you get to a senior level, this is what people care about. They don't care about making an extra 30K or 40K or 50K or even 100K.
Yeah.
They go, I'm bored, and half the time when I actually have 10 out of 10 candidates reply to my outreach, it's because they're unhappy at work, not because their money hurts.
Yeah.
And like, that's important, that is why people leave. And they won't take a counter offer because they're done. They're like over it and they're ready to leave. So you're totally right, dude. Meaningful work, I would say after like year 15, 12, 13, 14, 15, where you're good and you can get a job, that's when people start going, well, I'll even take a little bit less money if I love what I'm doing.
Yeah. My job now makes more than my job that I'm going to actually makes less money than my previous one. But then I told myself like, well, 30K less, 40K less, like it's not changing my living standards. Like just getcracked.io at currently is bringing me in 150K a year.
And I'm sorry, man. I just started popping back into your channel and sub. Is that your platform that basically your YouTube wraps around?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's the real baby, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like, I think I can grow that to $1 million a year. So like,
I mean, shit, dude. If you could make an extra 150K working 20 hours a week and just billing 40, and put all your eggs into that, and no one bothers you and micromanages you, that would be really attractive in this situation.
That's the strategy, because I think I can grow this to like I'm over $1 million a year. So like, why would I need a sweaty quant job that like wants me to do on call at 2 a.m. when I can just get a cushy tech job?
I agree, dude.
And
it's way better to build a product and build a baby and have it last forever, and realistically probably sell it, exit, and if you wanted to go that route though, and like go live on an island when you're done with this.
I already have enough.
Juicy.
I already bought an apartment in Thailand. Like the plan is already in motion.
Oh, are you in Thailand?
No, I'm not now, but it's in construction. It's gonna be built 2027. It's something like super.
And then at that point, bro, you can take 100K and still live like.
Yeah, no, exactly, exactly. What I also wanted to mention is it seems like a lot of. So I've interviewed at firms where I'm like, this is a great interview process. 3 rounds, they're moving quickly. Maybe each round is like 2 hours, 3 hours at most. And then I've been at firms that want like over 5 hours of your time at once. And all they're doing is just blasting you with useless lead codes you can like memorize. Like as a senior dev, I'm not going to be interested in your company if the only things you're asking me in an interview is just brainless lead code. Right? Like
most devs ask that first, what's the interview process? And I always make the joke, because we've had to coach our clients into fixing this when they go, why can't we close and retain talent? Well, guys, it takes you 4.5 weeks to review a resume to potentially get to an offer. And by the 5th round, you're asking them to do hula hoop trips for the CEO to get fucking 30K in equity when this shithole finally IPOs. Like,
right.
Yeah, no one's doing the dance with you guys.
Yeah.
So that is an issue. They don't need to do that. I do think it's either like an ego thing, or like there's just something there or they haven't been coached properly, or it's like the director of engineering is the one who's making the interview process, and like they don't really understand how the talent market works.
Yeah.
That is a fatal flaw in a lot of companies' hiring process, though.
Yeah.
And, really, the good clients, like I have a wonderful client that is a technical interview with 2 principals. Sometimes, and they're offered if they want to do this before they go on site, which means they got teched out in an hour and a half, had a really great interview, and now they're going to fly them out and have them meet the CTO and the interfacing VPs and all this stuff. And then that's like 3 hours of there's no coding on site. Hey, do you like the team? Check out our physical product. Look at the autonomous vehicles roaming around. Let us wow you with the experience of our office. That's if you're going to do a 3-hour interview and you're going to get an offer after, and that's the only one over two hours that you've done on step 3, that's fantastic. But dude, companies shoot themselves in the foot, because if you want to hire somebody, even with this AI and the market shit and this, that, and the other thing, I think staff engineers, principal engineers are impervious to this shit right now. And actually, I made a LinkedIn post showing what the hiring trends in the last year for engineers have been. It's basically entry-level people are absolutely not getting hired. Mid-level people, like up to 6-7 years, are staying flatline, and then it's staff and principal level are still like on an upward trajectory of moving jobs and making more money and getting more offers. So it's pretty clear that like you guys are impervious to, getting replaced, if you will.
Yeah. It's also
those are the ones you gotta move fast on, or you're just gonna lose them, dude.
What I noticed too is, the more time you spend with a candidate, like it's just like the more likely they are to make a mistake, and the more reason you're going to give yourself to not
Totally.
hire
You start
them.
nitpicking.
Yeah, exactly. So if a candidate's put in front of 10 people and they each need to make an opinion about this person, and the candidate spent a total of 10 hours interviewing at this company, like there's just going to be somebody that's going to, by just virtue of statistics, is going to be that's going to say, I don't like this person for whatever reason. Or, I asked him this one
Absolutely.
question to probe this area.
Overexposure.
Yeah, it's like over, what did you call it? Over what?
Overexposure.
Yeah, it's overexposure, and you're trying to. There's nobody out there that can continuously perform 100% in every interview after like 15 rounds. They're gonna screw up, and that's just gonna give you a reason to not hire them. And to me, that's kind
Totally.
of
It's
dumb.
that KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And dude, just like maybe to wrap this, I have a client that does professional services, e-commerce implementations, and they're in general like 1 to 2 year projects, usually 4 to 5 devs at a time. They heavily utilize the Latin American market. Brazilian developers are unfucking believable, allow me to say. So right now I have 40 contractors, all software engineers, contracting for that firm on projects. And what's amazing about that company is I've placed 40 engineers. The interview process is a 35-minute, and you'll probably disagree with this, but these guys aren't Fang, but just like hear me out how beautiful this is.
Yeah.
It's like a 35-minute tech talk. There's no scripting, there's no do a for loop, there's no Java bunny ears bullshit. It is a CTO who's, this kid's a genius,
Sure.
but he's the right head who can dig down technically super fast. And dude, we're talking that those 40 engineers are on about $12 million worth of gross profiting projects. So this is no joke. They can't fuck their engineers up that they're putting on projects. I have only had to fire 2 people, and it's primarily been ultimately because of language barriers. But these are like principal full stack JavaScript engineers and AEM developers and Java engineers. So the reality is, dude, you probably, if you have the right people interviewing, unless it's like a 600K fucking software engineering role, you really don't need more than a couple hours of tech talk and make sure like decision makers like the dude. Like that's
Yeah.
how simple it is to get talent, but they overcomplicate it and they shoot themselves in the foot, and then they can't find anyone, and then ultimately they pay a staffing firm $60,000 to send 30 candidates till they finally pull the trigger because they're fatigued.
And when they pull the trigger, they end up pulling it on a less qualified candidate.
And then they fire that person in 6 months, which, the cost of replacing someone is up to 200% of their salary. And
Yep.
It's just like, dude, it's just like the talent. I know it sounds corny, it's not engineering, but the talent infrastructure of companies is lacking so severely, which is why you guys don't get your calls back. And some people say I apply to 550 jobs, and it's easy to be like, AI's cutting me, and these are all ghost jobs. That's cope a little bit. But the reality is these people are like exhausted. There's too many people to go through, and it's almost like they're forced to use AI, or else the other option is Susie Q in HR is not going to review 950 applicants in 2 weeks on 4 open jobs, and then you guys just get stuck in the pile. Once again, go on to LinkedIn, find decision makers in a company. It's easy enough. You go to their page, you click members, you type something like director or HR, and you send a nice message, and you do that, and you supersede the ATS bullshit, and it'll be so much more effective. But companies still run as like this monolithic, like, well, tell me why you should work for me. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's like, no one's doing that anymore. You guys aren't giving them a Rolex after 30 years. No one has any loyalty. You need to impress them. You need to find the candidates yourself, and don't complain that they're, back to what you said, like, why does it feel like I'm a breath of fresh air? Because their fucking recruiting sucks, dude, because they're not working with me. So yeah, they're working on Indeed and a bunch of, I'm sorry, brother, the best candidates I've ever placed in my entire life have not updated their resume in 10 years. Their last 3 jobs have been word of mouth referrals.
Yeah.
Those are the people they're trying to find, and they wonder why their Indeed applicants suck. So it is interesting, dude. It is an interesting problem, isn't it?
Yeah. Thanks for calling in, man. I know you've taken up a bunch of your time.
No,
We'll
dude, I'm
keep you going.
enjoying this greatly, brother. I'll shoot you an email and
Yes.
we should hop on a call.
Yeah, please do. I'm definitely interested in talking to you.